We are now.
There we are. Okay. Yeah, this is a new. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the very first meeting of the Education, Elections, and Housing Subcommittee. And the first thing we're going to be doing this afternoon is discussing MC 1125. And we have Delegate Spiegel with us here to give us an overview of the bill and to answer any questions. It's a very long bill, not entirely Delegate Spiegel's fault. Some of it was existing language, but he's clearly being paid by the pound. So go ahead, Delegate Spiegel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the opportunity. I will do my best to not reiterate too much what was already vetted pretty well in discussion at the public hearing in December. But just a quick overview. This issue has generated a lot of interest among my constituents and others, not only in Montgomery County, but even across the state, who are interested in our local bill to see how it goes in case they want to maybe mirror it in other counties. But I think it's generated a lot of interest because there are a lot of issues, unfortunately, with common ownership communities, a term that encompasses homeowners associations, condo associations, and co-ops. We do have a body in Montgomery County's local government that is supposed to be addressing these issues and resolving disputes, called the Commission on Common Ownership Communities. But unfortunately, it has really just not been functioning well in recent years for a variety of reasons. And so this bill focuses on some of the most egregious types of problems and violations we see in common ownership communities, which are encompassing more and more of the residential communities in Montgomery County. Probably most, if not all of the new residential communities built in the last 20, 30 years have some sort of HOA or condo component if they are ownership units. And so there really isn't a kind of choice in the marketplace, particularly with the housing crisis that we have regionally and nationally, for folks to simply just choose not to buy in an HOA or condo association. And many of these units are starter homes or are affordable downsized homes or homes that folks have lived in for decades. So they are sort of naturally occurring in the marketplace, affordable units. And so there's a housing affordability issue here as well. And so we want to acknowledge that there are a lot of common ownership communities that are well run and well intentioned. And this is not a bill that is intended to penalize them in any way, but it is a bill to address the most egregious issues that we see come up repeatedly in some of these common ownership communities. So what does the bill do? It has requirements for additional disclosures for condo boards and property managers to provide to individual unit owners. It has certain protections regarding payment procedures to make sure that payments are properly recorded and that there are sufficient means and methods to be able to pay without penalty. It requires additional documentation to be provided upon request, or sometimes annually, just automatically. There is a provision that focuses on elections of board members and officers in common ownership communities. A concern we've heard repeatedly is that there's really no checks and balances on these elections, the same way you might see in a governmental election or even in a publicly traded company's board election, because we're talking about people's homes and their communities, and in many cases, the largest investment an individual will make in their entire lives. There should be a way to provide some protection to ensure that elections have integrity within an HOA or condo community. And so there's a provision that tries to ensure that whoever collects and counts the votes is an independent voice. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone outside the community, but if it is someone from within the community, it should not be someone who's a candidate or otherwise a strong advocate for or against a candidate for the board. To ensure objectivity and independence. And then finally, there's a provision regarding disputes, because what we often see happen is that heavy-handed, one-sided language in some of the governing documents and bylaws and contractual arrangements between an individual unit owner and an HOA or condo association will allow the association to charge onerous fees and fines and interest, which immediately begins to accrue as soon as a dispute arises, even if ultimately it takes a year to adjudicate a dispute and it turns out that the unit owner was right. In the interim, they're being forced to pay all these additional onerous fees and fines. And so the idea would be to hold off on requiring them to pay those fees and fines until there's a final decision by a court or an arbitration body that can be binding. And if then it turns out that the association is correct, and that they prevailed, then they can charge whatever they're entitled to charge under their governing documents as the prevailing party. But there shouldn't be a situation with the imbalance of power between a condo board and a property manager and an individual unit owner who has less resources, in that fashion while the dispute is still pending. So those are the main provisions. There are a bunch of others, and I know you have in the record a number of summaries from our analysts about the bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I do want to just point out the county executive supports the bill. The county council, I don't want to speak out of turn here because they haven't issued a formal opinion yet, but they did have a public discussion about the bill. They seemed generally supportive, but had a couple of technical questions, which we're in the process of answering. So they did put a hold before making a final decision on whether to support the bill. But I think it's safe to say their general conversation was generally supportive. I do want to also direct your attention to a letter you all received in the record from Tom Allen. It was a very thoughtful analysis of the bill, and he had some suggestions for some technical corrections. I don't have pride of authorship. If there's a desire, obviously, of the committee to make some changes, just to clarify some things, I'm happy to accommodate that. And just wanted to point out, since the chair mentioned it, that the reason the bill is so long is because it's actually three separate, nearly identical sections, one for co-ops, one for HOAs, and one for condos, but they say basically the same thing. And with that, happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your time, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Anybody have any questions about this bill? Now, I have a question. I'm curious, first of all, if there was a specific impetus for bringing the bill. And then I'm also curious about if there's any sort of organized opposition. I'm kind of wondering if HOA condo management is sort of an industry. Are there like groups that sort of do that?
I can tell you, Madam Chair, our office has not received what I would call organized opposition to the bill. We may have received one or two emails from some individual board presidents expressing some concerns, but we have not received any organizational opposition that I'm aware of. I don't know if the committee has received other correspondence beyond what was in the record from the public hearing on this, but that's what I can tell you from my side. I will also say, just briefly, I worked on this issue for many years as a municipal official before I joined the General Assembly. And my great hope was that by having the city of Gaithersburg sign on to the county's Commission on Common Ownership Communities, we would give our residents access to affordable dispute resolution, objective analysis for both the benefit of boards and the benefit of individual unit owners, and that would really go a long way towards resolving these issues. It was a little bit of a heavy lift, but we did actually vote favorably to get the city of Gaithersburg to join this common ownership commission in Montgomery County. But unfortunately, experience has shown in the last couple of years that the commission and its resources just aren't capable for a variety of reasons. I'm not trying to lay blame. I'm just saying it's just not functioning the way we imagined it would to be able to resolve a lot of these disputes. And we've had a lot of constituents who live as unit owners in these communities who have expressed a lot of concern, who shared their stories. Many of them testified at the public hearing of things gone wrong, violations and abuses. And it's just very unfortunate that the CCOC, the Commission on Common Ownership Communities, has not been able to address these. And that's the impetus for this bill, is to, if we can't do it through that commission, then we maybe need to do it through state legislation that at least helps folks in Montgomery County.
Thank you very much. Delegate Charkoudian, do you have any questions? If not, I think just to respect everybody, Ralph.
I do just want to add to echo what Delegate Spiegel said, as we are the ones who compile the testimony that's submitted to the delegation. The delegation has also not received any sort of organized opposition. All the testimony that we have received has been in favor of the bill, with a couple concerns here or there, but largely positive and in favor.
I shared with Delegate Spiegel that I got an email requesting that I bring the same bill in Howard County. Obviously, this is an issue that concerns a lot of people. And as you point out, it covers so much of the housing market at this point. So I think in order to respect everybody's time, I am expecting Delegate Kaufman to come back at least by 12:30. He said he would log on regardless of where he was in his briefing to present his bill, which we won't be able to vote on because we don't have a quorum, but please feel free to take yourselves off camera and do some work and eat your lunch, or, take a little break, and hopefully he will show up. I don't want to just close out the meeting without giving him the opportunity, because I think he's going to be cutting something else short. So if that's okay with everybody, as I say, go ahead and smoke them if you got them, as they say.
Madam Chair, with your permission, I'll log off if I'm done, unless
Of
you want me to
course.
stick around and answer anybody else's questions who might show up.
I don't see any other, I think they missed the chance. But thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you. And I'm always available to answer any other questions offline if folks have them. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
And I will note Delegate Crutchfield should be joining with Delegate Kaufman. She's also coming out of Judiciary. So I'd imagine that
They'll come together.
when he comes, they will come together. For
Okay.
members of the public who are watching, I will say I'm going to take a recess from the live stream. So the live stream will end and resume if and when our friends from Judiciary make it over. And also, just for public record, Delegates Chi and Delegate Shetty are both excused from this meeting.
Thank you very much.